This is more than 10 years later. This is now 2003. We're still about Iraq. And this is pretty much what we do when you get in, and you get in early. So I'm in Baghdad, 2003. And Tommy Franks is already there. The next morning left no doubt about being at the center. I had already gone through the line at the restaurant and received the 2 pieces of bread and the 1 egg we were all allowed, and then made haste to get a good seat in the lobby so as to make the most of it. The commotion at the center, the media stars circulating, their fixers arriving and departing, off to emerging stories around town to which the world would soon be glued. I stayed on for a while, not starstruck, but to try to capture what I knew would be more real than events the media covered. A global force it was, right up there with Tommy Franks' Army or the Federal Reserve. Outside the hotel in the parking lot, you could further marvel at its might. There were monster generators and masses of cables and dishes and transmitters to satellites that brought the media stars to every nook and cranny on the globe. Back then, in those early days, it was safe as you please just to skip out of the lot and onto the street and jump into any available cab with only some greenbacks and a scrap of paper with the addresses in Arabic. Back then, in late April, there were no blast barriers, no perimeter, no razor wire, just the almighty American armors stationed at strategic points, and an eruption of freedom, an incredible ground burst of it, to include poor folk helping themselves to public property. Leaflets and posters galore, and almost continuous demonstrations around Firdos Square as the people passed, as in parade, before the media stands. Manifestations for Islamic law, flyers for Assyrian rights, and sundry other advocates were coming out of the shadows, speaking freely for the first time in decades. So I strolled up to the concrete apron around where Saddam's statue had been and watched the ground burst, tried to feel its energy and see its currents. I chatted with bystanders. I mingled in the parades. I said things to myself such as birth of a nation, and I believed it. Around me were the ubiquitous money changers with the stacks of dinars rapidly depreciating, and a few entrepreneurs selling minutes on their thorayas to folks desperate to tell family back in the diaspora that they were okay. A few hours later, I needed to jump out of this swirl and do what I do, which is known in the trade as mucking about. Basically, I walked in concentric circles from the lobby of the Palestine, aimless, taking tea in a kebab joint, walking into a Chaldean church and chatting with a priest, finding a bilingual student to jump in my cab with me and spend the day. We drove out to Section 38 in the Shia slums, where a few inquiries in the street soon had me sitting on a carpet with a Shia sheikh under a portrait of Khomeini staring at us. Men of esteem from the neighborhood slowly filled the room and answered my questions about the conditions. The vast swamp of black water around the buildings, and the smoke from the garbage dump blown down the alleys. My days go on like this a while, chatting with an old tailor, dinner with a Greek Orthodox priest in Baghdad. Then bright and early the next day, I drove north to Mosul, and on the highway, littered with the burned-out carcasses of Iraqi army and the shot-up likenesses of Saddam, behind which stretched green fields of wheat to the west as far as the eye could see. Pizza with some shabab on the Corniche in Mosul, interviewing Kurdish displaced now squatting in a bombed-out army base, eyeing the beautiful black eyes of one of their girls. Buckets, foam mattresses, a brazier, a pot of tea, on to Mass at St. Thomas in the Old Town, ducking under the Aramaic script above the portal, the very place, I am told, the saint set out for India. One mucks about as long as one can, hopefully uninterrupted by reading or seeing anything the stars are transmitting, just absorbing the scene before the long ride back to Amman, from whence one's findings will get transformed into a proposal for humanitarian aid. Okay, quite a bit fast forward now. So that's coming in, and that's